And it was sent to me by, I don't know if he gets his tape on here or his audio tapes, by a fellow named Manny Galvez from Kirchner, Ontario, Canada. And it's extremely cosmic and mystical. And it's called Beyond the Astral Skies. I don't know who wrote it. It doesn't have a name on it. And it's quite long, so I only took 3 sections of it. But you know, I can make a copy of it down the road if you're interested in it. But let me just, you know, while we're kind of huddled here in the snow together, read you this that he sent me down from Ontario. It says, Beyond the Astral Skies, some searching for the echoes emanating from the first foundation of eternity, hearkening to those ancient voices, resounding from beyond the thresholds of oblivion. I love that. Hearkening to ancient voices resounding from beyond the thresholds of oblivion. Buried deep within the core, drinking the powers that are streaming from the center. I really think of Eta Carina when I think of that, when I hear that. Buried deep within the core, drinking the powers that are streaming from the center. As the cosmic brine, the spirit of the sun life-giving medium through which the power acts and flows as hydrogen transforms to helium and atoms from the covenant of molecules. This is where life begins and grows and where the holy number rules beyond the astral skies. It's really deep stuff. And then this is the wrap up here. The invisible gates of infinity, inscrutable, unthinkably remote, enshrouded into everlasting, eerie, silent thunder. The inner gates of wisdom, not known to man on earth. The shining crystal of forgiveness which comes from outer space. Reflector of the justice of this universe, its radiance way beyond the human race, and all its faculty of comprehension, illuminator of the astral and skies that lie beyond. Soon heavy clouds will pass and go, a newborn sun will melt the snow. The sky gets organized, the world gets civilized, evil gets minimized, an ancient dream gets verified, Satan sits terrified, the righteous get indemnified, all children see the light, rejoice and do unite, heaven has sent a blessing to you tonight beyond the astral skies. Oh, that was really good. Isn't that neat stuff? Yeah, it really is. So I want to thank Manny Galvez of Kirchner, Canada. So the mystery and the majesty that is the surging universe exploding with atomic and hydrogen pistons of power and creation to make things right. And yet, you know, still very few people pay attention to it. I can, you know, the more I think of this, the more I try to understand. You know, we were all raised in religious circles with religion, but we have never been able to let go of it when the very things that symbolically religion said was supposed to happen, when these things start to happen, they don't recognize them. And so they're still waiting for the things to happen that are happening. In other words, what's the sense of going to church and going to church and going to church year after year after year when that which you are going to see happen begins and you pay no attention to it? But the next thing, let me show you, is it's an overhead that I wanted to share with you, and it's on overhead number 208. And it comes from the Asbury Park Press of January 18th, 2000, just a few days ago. And the headline is, Finding Your Inner Self. And down here, meditation and yoga can help you control your out-of-control self. What's interesting about this article is it's local, like it's from Asbury Park, but they're talking about how teenagers are using meditation for healing, for self-worth, for seeking life and things that the systems of the world had missed. You know, they can't find this inner peace in religion because in religion it's warlike, and religion is very stressful. It competes. One It's like corporations in the systems of finance. They compete, and they're very nice as long as you're on their side. But if you're on the other side, it can get pretty cutthroat. And basically, that is the unfortunate part with religion. Well, here, as the Asbury Park Press article states, and this was written by a local correspondent for that paper, finding your inner self is a way to get that out-of-control self under control. And I would encourage you to read that article if you have access to that. But more than that, what I encourage you to do is to consider this thing called meditation. Most people just do not understand the power of it. It is an awesome thing because what it does is it triggers the life force within inside of you, which is, you know, in a harmony with nature, you see. And it works. It really works. It will help your body heal those things that could be going wrong before they do go wrong and before, you know, they can't be stopped. It works to bring you into a harmony with nature, and now especially with Eta Carina and with Supernova 1987A. The article states that everyone has a search for meaning, and meditation delivers to all who will simply take the time. But I can tell you, by opening this place every Tuesday night, very, very few people take the time. Very, very few. Because it seems like we're more comfortable or more conditioned to combat the stress, whether it be from TV or whether it be from, you know, being on the phone with somebody or whatever we're working or working to, and whatever we're doing. It is a very stressful system that we exist in. And it's very difficult for people to take a half hour out for themselves. And we've been doing this since 1988 here, and we can see that on Tuesday night, it's a handful of people we'll show here. And the reason seems to be people just cannot let go of the very thing that is killing them, which is the activity of the mind that is, you know, just ripped to pieces by the stressful things that go on. And so I would encourage you. I mean, I'm not looking to make any money with the thing, but I would encourage you to come out on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock and devote 1/2 hour a week to yourself. 1/2 hour to healing those things that may be going wrong physically. 1/2 hour to place you in a harmony with nature and with the cosmic things that are happening. And here, these kids are learning this and doing this. And so, I mean, I really would suggest to you, I want to quote you from the article. It says, meditation is a way to take control of yourself in a positive way. Tuesday at 8 p.m. we start meditation here. And Tuesday at 8:30 we end. Such a small amount of time that is asked of you to give to yourself, not anybody else. Allow the cosmic and natural energy to meet with you and bring you into a harmony with your true inner self. And I ask you really to consider it. And then when you do, look at these kids here doing it. And we don't lay on the floor here or do yoga here. You just sit in a chair. But you start to meet somebody that you really maybe have never met before, yourself. The heck with religion and all of these groups and cults and organizations. They have a thing for their own corporate structures. I mean, I'm talking about this as an intimate thing between you and the universe. The nightmare that we all encounter is, you know, stress and competition in the system and warring religions and governments. They'll be screaming at one another long when you're gone. I mean, they'll still be dropping bombs on one another and attacking one another and raping one another and stealing and competing and all of this stuff. It'll always happen. But you have more important ones to meet. And they're waiting for you to be still and give them the time. But you have to be still. So what I'm about to share with you now, I hope will cause you to rethink your need for meditation. For the entire story of Eta Carina has its roots in the story of Jason and the Argonauts. The word Carina means the keel of a ship, and it was named after the ship Argo, which had a keel which gave instruction in the time of trouble. Jason and the Argonauts were sailing through all these treacherous waters, and they were looking to find the golden fleece. And the golden fleece is that which would heal. One of the things that Jason did is he took, this person was sick, and he put the fleece over this person, the person was healed. Well, he had to take it away from the dragon or the serpent. And that's DNA. That's a symbol of DNA. It's a metaphysical symbol of DNA. I mean, I'm not just saying to you, well, that's a symbol of DNA, believe it. I'm saying to you that anthropologists such as Jeremy Narby, who wrote the book about the cosmic serpent, has reached conclusions about that after doing much study. So the story is Jason and the Argonauts would take the golden fleece, but they had to get it away from the serpent. So let's forget the story and go into the idea or think about it as a symbol of DNA. The golden fleece is unraveling the code of DNA. And it comes from the very essence of DNA, which is the serpent. But in order for Jason and the Argonauts to sail through the treacherous waters and to get to that point where they could get the golden fleece, they encountered all kinds of obstacles. You know, it's like the story of, did you ever see the movie some years ago? They had a movie called The Raiders of the Lost Ark. And this guy would have to battle all kinds of terrible things in order to get to the ark. And, you know, well, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all describing life and trying to find that inner light within yourself and all of the struggles that you have to go through. So in this particular case, we have the ship, which is the Argo, and the keel of that ship would speak to Jason when he was in trouble, when he didn't know, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? He'd go to the keel of the ship, and the keel had a woman's face carved on it, and she would open her eyes and she would speak and tell him what to do. And then they would sail on, and everything was wonderful. So, well, right now, as you know, all of the scientists that are studying and working in the field of DNA and genetic engineering are receiving instructions. They're suddenly becoming very brilliant about this. And it just happens that the most amazing structure in the universe right now, the most amazing body in the universe right now is a star, whatever it is, called Eta Carina. And the word Carina means the keel of a ship. Well, that doesn't necessarily tie DNA together to it, except when you realize that the force that corrects DNA is protein. And the root of the Greek word of protein is prow, which means the front part of the hull of a ship. So we have protein and we have Carina, both connected with this keel. And so then we're looking, and we've been studying Carina very, very deeply. And we're seeing a lot of things that are accumulating as evidence. And in fact, I'm opening a new page on the website about the evidence for Eta Carina. All of the things that we've seen, everything. Maybe one day we'll do that soon. But when we look and we think of the Argo, the ship, the star, this tremendous thing that's going on in the sky, which is unexplainable to scientists. I'll show you an overhead 193. It's seen on the ancient zodiacal map. But and any map of the zodiac, you can look at it out in the hallway on the map out there. There's Leo, the lion of Judah, which opens the seals. There's the serpent, representative of DNA. What else is a serpent up there? But look, right below it is the Argo. That's the ship. That's Eta Carina. Diseases such as cancer, Alzheimer's, AIDS, that's surely a time of trouble. And as we can see from all the news releases, instruction is coming in a very big way. And the scientists, they can't even contain themselves as to how close they are. I mean, by about June of this year, 2000, the entire genome, the entire genetic structure of human beings will be unraveled, decoded. They're working at it feverishly every day, and they're this close to having it done. And that, they said it'll be in June that they'll have it decoded, and they will know everything about everybody. So here then, where we're looking at this story about Jason and the Golden Fleece, and you would say, well, why would you read a story like that, like a fairy tale? Well, it's not a fairy tale, it's mythology. That's a big difference. And why would I look at it? I would look at it because that story was written by the same people who wrote the Bible. The Bible became a Greek document in 300 BC. It was called the Septuagint, and the entire New Testament is written in Greek. That story was written in Greek. The Bible was written in Greek. But more than that, if you look at the etymology of Stedman's Medical Dictionary, you'll see that the predominant number of words in that book are in Greek. So they wrote the medical dictionary, they wrote the mythology, they wrote the Bible, they wrote the names of the stars.
Billy, define mythology.
Define mythology. Mythology is, well, the easiest way probably in a contemporary way is to define it as a coded message about anatomy and astronomy. When you read in the books of the ancient myths of the ancient Greeks and Romans, you read strange stories of numerous gods. And people in contemporary Christianity and become frustrated with it. Oh, we don't believe in all those gods. Well, they do, but they don't understand that they do because they don't realize what mythology is. Each of the gods in mythology represents a different aspect of nature or a different aspect of your personality. Fear is a god. Love is a god. Hate is a god. Desire is a god. East is a god. West is a god. North is a god. South is a god. Fire is a god. Water is a god. Wind is a god. All this stuff. But when you read them, the idea is to understand which god represents which aspect of nature, and then you begin to understand something that's written in a very strange but amazing way about the relationship between life and nature. That's what mythology is. To understand mythology contemporarily, the best thing to do is to go out to the bookstore and pick up books written by Joseph Campbell. I can't tell you any better way because he was the most wise person about mythology. He taught Sarah Lawrence University for 38 years and unfortunately died just before his time, and when we really needed him the most is right now. But he was brilliant, and he would talk and he would say people in religion in this country, they don't understand. They're studying their own mythologies and they don't know it. And they're taking these things literally. So we could take this story literally. What's this story? Think of it. Here is the story of the ship at sea struggling through the storm. They don't know what to do. Quick, somebody, we need help, we need help, what are we going to do through this storm? So they talk, and the keel of the ship wakes up. And the keel of the ship speaks, and they're saved. Same group writes the same story, only puts it in the Bible a little different way. They're in the boat, oh, the storm is coming, oh, what do we do, what do we do? There's Jesus sleeping in the boat, wake him up, what do we do, what do we do? And he says, peace, be still. It's the same thing. But it's not talking about a keel of a ship, and it's not talking about Jesus. It's talking about the light within you that's asleep and has to be woken up. And the way in waking this up is meditation. But let's go on. So anyhow, the keel of the ship guides Jason to the golden fleece, and he takes it away from the serpent, which we understand metaphysically as DNA. So mutant DNA was corrected by the golden fleece, and healings took place because Jason listened to the keel of the ship. right now scientists are listening to the keel of the ship. They don't have to even understand that they're listening to the keel of the ship, but they're receiving that which is coming down from above in angles of light, which is opening gates in their brains, and they are on the verge of totally unraveling the book of life, which is DNA. Unraveling the whole thing. Your life. Your life won't be boring anymore. Your life will not be a series of diseases that, just gang up to kill you. It won't be that way anymore. As long as we're listening to the ship, so we're not the only ones who realize that from the Argo, Eta Carina is coming, the correction of the mutant DLA, the healing instructions being given by the keel of the ship. There were people who wandered the deserts of Arabia. I don't know if it's thousands or hundreds of years ago, but they had a word that they used to describe the star. Now, we're talking about Eta Carina sending angles of light to open gates in the brains to correct mutant DNA and cause healing or the end of cancer and AIDS and Alzheimer's and cystic fibrosis and all these terrible things. The nomads of the desert looked at the star Argo, and they had a name for it. And the name was Suhail. That was what Argo was called by the nomads of the desert. Suhail. Suhail. That word means immunity from disease. What did they know? But they did know. So it's just another piece of the evidence, isn't it? It means immunity from disease and the power to change evil to good, and that is the name that they use to speak of the Argo, the star in the sky. And the nomads of the desert, I guess, got to know the stars as well as anybody, because they would depend on the stars in order to take them across the desert where there were no street signs or whatever. The main star in the great ship Argo is called Canopus, C-A-N-O-P-U-S. In Eta Carina, that's the main star, C-A-N-O-P-U-S. And that means a container in which the inner bodily organs are preserved. Sometimes it gets so good that it's hard to... All you do is look that up in a dictionary. Go ahead. Please do. Canopus means a container in which the inner bodily organs are preserved. Consider that. Science is opening the seals that have been tightly locked concerning DNA. And we have connected this to Eta Carina, the keel of the ship. And the brightest star in that ship is Canopus, related to the preservation of the inner organs of the body locked away within its hull. So, as they open then the hull of the ship, as they unlock the seals, as they unlock the mystery of DNA, then we come to that point of the preservation, the resurrection, if you would, the restoration of the inner organs which have been damaged and diseased by mutant. Of all of us. I think that's interesting. But there were many. I mean, here's two things in that ship. Canopus is to preserve, restore the organs inside of your body, DNA. Suhail means immunity from disease. Two things. Now, there are many upon the earth who will not listen to this. There are corporations in this country and in other countries who are racing as hard as they can to try to tie up this genetic research for profit. Stock market, pretty soon you're going to see it. You'll be seeing your genes on the stock market. You'll be, probably, investing money in chromosome 22 or something like that. Really? But the problem with it is it'll get down to the level of the HMO who will tell you, oh, you're not covered for chromosome 22, you're covered for chromosome 14. you have to pay an extra premium to get chromosome 22, or your company doesn't cover chromosome 22. Really? And that would take us right back to where we came from, wouldn't it? If nature is solving the riddle of DNA, what point would be there if we're just going to have our DNA corrected and then go out and be involved in the same environments with the same additives to foods and all that to destroy the DNA again? What would be the sense of it? So something has to change more than just correcting the DNA. There has to be a correction in the course of how we live, doesn't there? There has to be a whole new way. And of course, we're not going to correct that. You're not going to change the systems. You're not going to change religion from studying mythology literally. You're not going to correct that. You're going to change the governments, capitalist governments, communist governments, whatever they are. They're going to do what they want to do. And they do it just because they hate each other and they don't want anybody telling them what to do. When Jason no longer listened to the keel of the ship, and this story, if all of the rest of this that we've studied month after month, week after week about DNA is correct and it came from there, then you can't eliminate this other part. When Jason no longer listened to the keel of the ship, it fell on him and it killed him. If the story of Jason and the Argo is the story of the celestial Argo at Eta Carina, and it is guiding us to the place of the Golden Fleece, which would be decoding the secret life force DNA to bring healing, why would the story include the part about the ship also killing the one who would no longer listen? If I was to go into any church up and down this highway and tell the people this story, they'd tell me I'm a cult leader. I'm from the devil. Oh, don't listen to that, it's of the devil. Everything you've ever seen here is from the scientists, from the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, from the leading universities. There's nothing new age here. There's nothing religious here. Everything is science. But they couldn't deal with it. They would not listen. There are two sides to all things. There's a positive and there's a negative. I'm not about to tell you that this side of Eta is negative. I'm simply telling you that the universe will no longer allow life to continue as it was as the light from Eta corrects DNA. There's going to have to be changes made. I mean, you could sit here and you can say in your head, well, you know, but I'm telling you, this thing is happening over your head right now. And you'll either get in harmony with it, or it'll blow your head off. It's that simple. And it's not coming from any religious people. It's not coming from any priests or ministers or rabbis. I have nothing to do with those people. This is coming from scientists who are looking this thing square in the eye. This is coming from a guy like Chris Davidson, who's an astrophysicist from the University of Minnesota, and he says, I don't know. Nobody knows what's going on up there, but this thing's getting ready to blow. And of course, people will run around screaming, grabbing everything they can. Why didn't anybody tell us? The reason nobody told you didn't want to listen. The latest edition of Astronomy magazine, dated February the 2000. The headline has implications for the Earth other than in DNA healing. And if you'll put that on number 204. Astronomy magazine, here it is. This came out February 2000. Supernova blast, Eta Carina heats up. Now that should be a first thing. You should pay attention to this. I mean, if somebody told you your hot water heater was overheating, you'd, oh my God, oh jeez, call the plumber. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Forget your hot water heater. If somebody told you your gas heater in your house or your oil heater was not functioning properly, you'd freak out. Oh God, call the plumber right away. Well, who are you going to call? Who are you going to call? This thing is overheating. Let me show you the index in Astronomy magazine, which is worthy of your attention. Overhead 205. Astronomy magazine, Scoping out the master star. Monster, I'm sorry. Normal stars don't double in brightness in a year's time, but then Eta Carina is no ordinary star. This is right over your head. So why should we listen to the keel of the ship? Why should we be in meditation to reach a harmony? Don't you want to be in harmony? If this is getting ready to do something, don't you want to know? Don't you want to be in a harmony with it? You're going to call a plumber to do anything about this? Of course not. Let me look at overhead 206. Get this one. Scoping out the monster star. Eta Carina, I love this. The biggest, baddest star in the Milky Way. That's your house. That's where your house is, the Milky Way. Has started brightening again, and no one knows why or where it might lead. This isn't from the New Age Journal or the local rock shop or the Christian Cavalier. This is from Astronomy Today. Not Astrology Today, Astronomy Today. It's a scientific magazine. Eta Carina, the biggest, baddest star in the Milky Way, has started brightening again, and no one knows why or where it might lead. Now watch down here. Like a king, this gigantic star imperiously ordains the life and death of all its neighbors. Some star it feeds, providing the complex molecular DNA material used by newborn stars to coalesce and form. Others it annihilates, exterminating any life that might dwell within nearby stellar systems. Now, the point again, remember Jason? When he decided he wasn't going to pay any attention, what happened? Are you going to pay any attention? That's up to you. Totally up to you. But don't tell me, don't sit there and think that this isn't going to happen. This isn't religion I'm showing you. This is different than religion. This is true. The star shines so brightly it would appear as bright as the sun does in our sky from 185 billion miles away, some 50 times the distance to Pluto. With 120 times the mass of the sun, it comes close to the theoretical limit of how big a star can be. And although it lies 7,500 light years away and glows more brilliantly than any other star in the galaxy, during this 20-year great eruption, it spit out 2 to 3 suns worth of material. Well, I don't even understand what that means, so what's the difference? But I do understand this, and I want to show you this on overhead 209. I made it big so that you could all see it. The star is Eta Carina, considered by many astronomers to be the brightest object in the Milky Way galaxy and among its heaviest. It is also one of the strangest and rarest of stellar bodies, a gargantuan variable star that fluctuates in an irregular and completely unpredictable manner. Completely unpredictable. Today, Eta Carina remains luminous and unstable, surrounded by one of the most beautiful and distinct nebulae in the heavens. Moreover, astronomers were astonished recently when, without any warning, it suddenly began to brighten again at all wavelengths. In the past year, its brightness has more than doubled, leaping upward, so that the star and its surrounding nebulae now glow around 5th magnitude, the brightest in more than a century. 150 years ago, the English amateur astronomer John Herschel asked, what origin can we ascribe to these sudden flashes and relapses? His question remains unanswered. No doubt in part because this regal star continues to be cloaked by dusty clouds. In fact, astronomers are not even sure if Eta Carina is a single star. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, Eta Carina remains a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. Yet Eta Carina's place in stellar evolution is crucial. Its mysterious behavior challenges every theory that tries to explain the life and death of stars, including our own sun. Its future activity might even tell us why, where, and when other stars go boom. If you can go right on to the next one. The article goes on to quote Chris Davidson about Eta Carina. In general, astronomers remain skeptical of all these theories, including some of their very advocates. No hypothesis is yet able to explain all the known facts, among them the star's inexplicable and stunning jump in brightness since 1998. As Davidson notes, we really truly do not understand what is happening even at a fairly rudimentary level. Nobody knows what's going on with this thing. This thing, there are 6,000 visible stars. Every one of them they understand. Nobody knows what's happening with this thing. Nobody knows what's happening with DNA. Nobody knows why all of a sudden we understand all of these things. So now the keel of the ship. Now we hear about changes on the earth. And I don't give this to frighten anybody. I'm just telling you a fact. I'm just telling you the truth. But on the other hand, I'm looking back at the book of Revelation, and it talked about some of this stuff. And I'm wondering now, is this what it was talking about? But I give it to you to ask you to begin to do your meditation and start to flow in harmony with Eta, since everything else we've brought to you appears to be confirmed. There's a scientist by the name of Corcoran, and I want to show you his comments in Overhead 207. I even made them a little bigger because they're... Corcoran recently said, the death of Eta Carina is likely to be one of the most explosive events ever experienced in the galaxy. When such massive stars go supernova, the energy released can be so powerful that it equals and possibly exceeds that of the rest of the galaxy. Such explosions might also be the progenitors of gamma-ray bursts, events so energetic that even from a distance of several thousand light years, the explosion could seriously damage life on Earth, possibly even wiping it out. Is anything going to wake you up? Is anything going to get you to say, gee, you know, maybe something's going on. Maybe something's happening. So while the explosion of lordly stars like Eta Carina leads to the birth of new stars, it concurrently causes the destruction of life in nearby solar systems. Think again what I told you about Jason, when he wasn't listening. Let us hope that our solar system is just far enough away so that we can enjoy the show without allied tragic consequences. Now that doesn't come from any New Age. This comes from a scientist, and it was in Astronomy magazine. So how far are we away, and are we far enough away that when this blows, and it's going to blow, then what damage will we upon the earth? So you say, well, what can you do about it? Absolutely nothing. But you can do the one thing that you should do. Forget religion instantly. Put it down and start dealing with reality. If you want to look at the book of Revelation and say, well, maybe this is what Revelation is talking about. Maybe it is. But what does it say? How can you then bring yourself together with this? By meditation. So we have to ask ourselves, it would not be reasonable in conducting such a study not to inquire as to whether the Armageddon spoken of in Revelation could have a connection to Eta Carina when Eta goes boom. Revelation 9:15. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. See that? What's it mean? It means that somebody knows when Eta is going to go boom. They know the hour. Is it going to be 3 o'clock? They know the day. Is it going to be a Wednesday? They know the month. Is it going to be August? They know the year. Is it going to be 2002? To slay a third part of men has nothing to do with killing a third of life upon the earth. There are 4 human parts that you have. One part, if you look at your hand, is physical. That's easy. The second part, if you think, is intellectual. The third part, if you freak out like me, is emotional. And the fourth part is that part that we call spiritual. So you have 4 parts. The third part that is slain is the physical, intellectual, and emotional. Not actually killing, but overcoming the power of the physical so that human life can finally operate via the spiritual. In other words, when you go into meditation, what do? You shut down the physical, the intellectual, and the emotional, and you go into nothingness. So then the third part is slain. Now that happens inside of here, and it is also going to happen in what they call the macrocosm when Eta goes boom. Now, this here, where we see that there is an hour, a day, a month, and a year, and remember the four angels. What are angels? Angles of light. Angels are angles of light coming down, in this particular case from Eta Carina. Angles of light. If you look up that word angle, have any of you ever gone fishing here? Has anybody ever gone? Well, do you know what an angle is? I mean, a fisherman is called what? An angler, right? So now you know why the Son, who is mythologically Jesus, selects his disciples from the fishermen. Because what are they? They're angles of light. They're anglers. The 12 angles are that which come down from the 12 constellations that flow through the ecliptic of the sun. There were not 12 disciples. There was not a physical Jesus. Oh, I can see them now, you know, throwing spaghetti at the television and all of that stuff. But I mean, so what? That doesn't make any difference. I'm not saying that there wasn't a Jesus. I'm saying there is a Jesus. The light of the world. The universal God, the universal creator. But it is light. And that the 12 disciples are actually the 12 constellations, which equate to the 12 cranial nerves inside of your brain. You have 12 in here, and you have a pineal gland, which is the sun in here. There's a sun up there, and the 12 constellations. And so there is, the four angels are actually talking about angles of light which would become loosed. And these then start to come down. And when they slay the third part of men, which means is that there's going to be a change in human consciousness. This is what I was talking to you about. You can't correct the DNA and let people go on and live the same way. So a lot of the systems of the world, the capitalist systems, the communist systems, the Catholic religion, the Buddhist religion, and all these different kind of things are going to go, well, I just say the Catholic religion, that sounds, I got to say the Protestant religion too. I get in trouble with that with the Buddha, Hindus, and everybody, you know, because it's all stuff, you know. We're talking about, we're getting away from religion here, now we're going to go to the truth. It's like Lenny Bruce. You remember Lenny Bruce? Lenny Bruce was a comedian many years ago, probably a lot before you people were born, maybe. But Lenny Bruce had a one-liner that was great. He says, something's going on. People are getting away from religion and going back to God. Basically, that's what's happening here. So we have reference to an astronomical event because we have the angles of light, and we have a year, a month, a day, and an hour. How could somebody know that? Very simple. Light travels 186,400 miles a second through the universe. And by figuring out where you are, it can tell you exactly when the light's going to hit you. They can figure it out right now. They can tell you when Halley's Comet comes around, somebody could sit down and tell you exactly what day, what hour, what minute, what year it's going to fly over your house again. Might be 20,000 years from now, but they can tell you. They can tell you exactly, because this is not religious, this is astronomical. Okay? So we have a reference to an astronomical event. The four angels are angles of light. That's electromagnetism which pours down from the universe. Now just think of something, what I've been telling you. There is nothing else that comes to the earth from above, save an occasional stray meteor, but angles of light. That's all that comes. That's all. Cosmic energy, which is called photons. Now, Astronomy Magazine doesn't know when Eta is going to blow. But there's obvious concern here. You saw it. And here in Revelation 9:15, it tells us there is a year, a month, a day, and an hour. When something is going to happen. And when it does happen, it will slay the third part. And that's vital here, because now we've got to turn from Eta and look at our other friend who's chugging up there with these tremendous celestial pistons going crazy, and it's called Supernova 1987A, or better known to you as the eye in the sky. supernova 1987A, which has a direct line to the Fornax constellation, or the pineal gland in your brain, which has a direct line called stria pinealis to the fornix in your brain, both of them meaning the furnace. Now, when is supernova's light going to hit the Earth? We don't guess on that, because we know from the scientists that the National Aeronautics and Space Administration has told us that supernova 1987A will hit the Earth in 2002. The eye will touch the Earth. And you might ask, what does supernova 1987A have to do with Eta Carina? Ask yourself a question. What does your DNA, Eta Carina, have to do with your pineal gland? Oh, I don't know. Well, let me tell you. Your pineal gland is the light receptor. The light receptor is where you pick up that which is external electromagnetism, enters your body via the pineal gland of the brain. It's your time clock. It secretes melatonin into your body. In other words, it plays a part with your entire life force. And your entire life force is DNA. So it has a tremendous connection. So if supernova 1987A is the pineal gland of the brain, and if Eta Carina is your DNA, and the fornix of the brain is the same as the constellation Fornax, then the three are ready. Because what is in your brain is a microcosm or a small addition of what is in the sky. Now, this is really starting to get good. It really is. And if you understand it, you will not fear this. If you do not understand it, then you will fear this. So it is most important that you do understand it. This now is a time when all of these things, whether they be written in the Bible or written in mythology, are happening. And they're not revealed by priests or ministers or rabbis. They're revealed by scientists. In the same way that the Bible told you in the Christmas story that when the star was supposedly followed to find that which was the sun god, who found it? Not priests, ministers, or rabbis, magi, which is the root of the word magician, which were astrologers, astronomers. These were the scientists of the day. The scientists of the day found that. The scientists of today are finding this. So it is a very, very interesting time. And as I said, it's really starting to get good. It is really starting to heat up. And your friend up there is going to blow. And now you have time to sit and understand what you should do. And the good part about this is that all you're going to be required to do is start working on your inner self to get it in harmony, so that as this change comes, it comes to you in a flow of a harmonic change. In the same way that when you change a light bulb, you know, if you put the right bulb in the socket, or if it puts the right voltage and so forth and so on, the bulb will light. If the voltage isn't right, then it'll blow the bulb up. But nonetheless, I ask you to consider your meditation now, and then consider what we are about to share with you, or I am about to share with you here, which is the very fulfillment of what you have been going to church for. I know there's a lot of people that watch this on television and won't tell anybody. I know who you are because I can see you. And they know, and your friends don't know you're watching this, and you wouldn't tell them because they'll throw you out of the church. I understand that. But so you and me have got this thing going anyhow, right? Because I hear a lot of people, oh yeah, I watch it, you know, so I know. But you're showing up this Sunday morning, you're showing up to that other church. I know you are. Well, that's just fine. That's okay. So, but what I'm going to be doing with you is I'm going to show you how the very things that you're going to church to find out about are happening now. And it's an exciting way. That one who was supposed to come to save you is on his way. And I'll show you how to contact, how to communicate, how to send back your acknowledgement, and I'll tell you how to do it in a very scientific way that is totally confirmed by the scientists of today. So it's an exciting time, and Keep watching. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.